Hello everyone, my name is Luis Flores and I was on the NeonStrikers development team. Welcome to our Shortcomings video and our Wishlist video. Let's jump right into it, as no project is short of any comings. So let's go ahead and talk about our main project shortcoming. So originally we were 4 members. I was the team lead and developer, also responsible mainly for the meeting minutes, daily scrum, kind of writing that up and delivering it to everyone after we finish. Brian was on board as a developer, Fabian as well, and then our project lead or project owner was Mike. He had envisioned for his senior capstone to create a video game, as he hasn't done any video game development and would have liked to produce something at the end of his career here at FIU, something he can look back on and be proud of. We all bought into his idea as well. We, as he did have some Unity experience, some experience developing a game. However, he hasn't published anything. All of us haven't produced anything with Unity or developed any games. So we also wanted the experience on our resumes and with our career here at FIU. So we bought into his idea. We all supported him. And then he hit us around mid-semester that he was leaving. So we lost our project lead. He was also responsible initially for the code database, our source code, and leading us in terms of project structure, as well as mainly what he wanted to focus on was design. He did want to enjoy designing the game himself. That was kind of was mainly his realm. We didn't dive into any design. We did program, some of the physics of the ball, the sprites, initial mock-ups of the game, and as well as through the tutorial, learning the actual layout of Unity, how to edit, start the development process. However, when Mike left was around sprint 3. Mid sprint 3, he just hit us, I think it was after spring break, hit us with that he won't be able to attend the senior showcase in person. We all were comfortable with the fact that he couldn't. However, I guess between talking to the professor, he ended up dropping the class as he couldn't attend in person that semester. So moving forward from that, we had to also leave the repository that he created as his programming, and as well as his designs. Since they were his designs and art style, we wanted to leave that for him, his intellectual property. The programming as well was a little bit difficult to follow, so we ended up parting ways with that repository, and with Brian's help created a new Unity repository, where since we had that loss of design focus, we decided to shift to using AI for all the sprites, all the designs of the game. And our main focus would be the physics, the actual gameplay mechanics, and replayability of the game, as well as some minor things such as different slides, how the game will progress, and then as well as building a very decent demo that we can enjoy testing with a live audience. Initially, when we lost our project owner, we were a little bit lost on how we wanted to proceed. I was throwing around the idea of changing the project altogether, as for another course, we were developing a full stack application that managed data. It was for database management, but stored data for users leaving reviews on games and interacting with those databases and those design elements. However, it would have been switching completely from the Unity game to web development, and as well as running a live server for the database and the API. However, Brian did show that he had some capabilities in Unity and was pretty comfortable with leading the charge and finishing the game. So with his help, he took lead in terms of game development, and then as well as gave tasks to Fabian and I to complete the actual game for the showcase. So after that change in responsibility, I also let them know that I'll take full responsibility for the documentation, producing documentation for the deliverable, and summarizing the daily scrum as I was doing before, but also creating the artifacts, screenshots of the game, as well as future works, creating the user stories with them. So after that, we were pretty, as with any deliverable deadline, we were pretty stressed leading up to the showcase, but we were able to complete our goals and develop and deliver a fully playable game by the showcase. So we were pretty comfortable with that. So now I am going to switch gears to our wish lists, future works that we have in store for NeonStrikers. And just like that, I am right back to it. So this is the wish list, or testing plans that we have laid out for NeonStrikers. Of course, this came with after the showcase. We developed this documentation because we enjoyed the live playtest of our game. We were able to find many bugs using the users who were playing the game, as well as the judges going around, and us delivering, our pitch about our game. We were able to develop pretty comfortably. Most people were able to pick up the game and start playtesting immediately, which we enjoyed. We left the game layout pretty simple, so it was simple to explain. And as they played the game, we were able to talk about the game, what they're interacting with, how it works. So there were two players. We had them either playing on the same keyboard on a laptop, or there was one laptop with two keyboards where they can play. However, the keys are different when you play locally. If you play the game remotely, you would be able to use WASD and spacebar to play the game, player 1 and player 2. However, locally, player 1 would play with WASD, player 2 would play with the arrow keys and enter, which proved actually not a bug, but definitely a user experience issue. So that was our first encounter. What we saw is that the blue player, or player 1, who's using WASD and space, would usually fare a lot better and have better playability, more confident gameplay than the player who was using the arrow keys and enter. So normally, if it was just one person coming to the booth, we would play with the arrow keys and enter, as we have too many hours playing this game. As them being new, they would be more comfortable with the traditional layout of the WASD keys for moving the character and the spacebar. So we decided to switch things up after the showcase to moving to WASD X, so the character can just use one hand to play. You're not using W or or S at the same time, but you are A and D, and then X would be the jump key instead of space. The other player would play with K, L, and O. K, O, L, and colon, and then they would hit with their thumb the comma key to jump. So that was a little bit better. We can have two players playing, or we did actually switch it up if they were left-handed, right-handed. We do want to include a little settings to change the controls, because that is something very light to integrate into the Unity engine. But depending on what hand they were playing with, they could switch the jump key to either period or the comma key. Same thing with WASD. If you're playing with your left hand, it might be more comfortable to hit X, as if you're playing with your right hand, it's more comfortable to hit the Z key. So we did find that bug while we were playing, or a user experience issue. Another bug is that we found a collision bug with the player and the borders of the game, of the platforms that we had set up, of the walls. If you interacted with them by holding the key, jumping into the wall, your player would become stuck, and to get unstuck, you would have to release that key and then hit the opposite key, or just don't do anything at all, and the player would eventually fall. We did find that in this game, which is very fast paced and competitive, you would lose a point easily if you got stuck on a wall. Especially as we had some people play the game multiple times. They got very good very quickly. This bug would come into play where they would attempt to get to the ball, but if the ball was knocked out, they would run into the wall, get stuck, which caused some issues. Free goals unblocked or unchecked by the opposition. So we did have to change the material layout for the platform so that, like the ball, it won't stick to the player, or the player won't stick to the material. So that was pretty easy to implement, something quick that Brian was able to start implementing while we were there live with, giving a presentation talking about file structure. He decided to go in and as we spoke about file structure and we were showing them, he was able to go in and quickly change some material settings. We didn't launch that version of the game because we'd have to rebuild it, but we were able to show that it is quite easy to iterate small changes and have the game launching again. There was a buffering time and we wanted to use all the battery power we had to run the game. We were able to find quite a few bugs, so we were able to update our GitHub project repository with these issues, and then we're able to sift through them. Some are proving more difficult than others. However, now that we have them properly documented and the issues there, we realize the value of having a live playtest. So we're proposing a live event where NeonStrikers dev testing night, where Brian and myself, we would host a tournament, try and get people to play against each other, discover bugs, and then provide rewards for whoever finds the most impactful bugs, how they discover the bugs. We'll give a reward for that person, and then we'll also give a reward for whoever does well in the game, so whoever gets first place in the tournament. It might be the same person, or it might be two separate people, and we want to do something nice for them, kind of have their name engraved into, or their persona engraved into the game, built into the game somehow, something to remember the live dev testing night. But yeah, we were thinking 2 phases, just a brief overview of the game, all the changes we made, and then go ahead and run a free play, but then also a tournament style. So it's obviously 1v1 matches with the new updates that we have. Any bugs that are found, we'll go ahead and try and iterate that same night, so that way by the next 1v1 match they would be running the new iteration of the game, and then we'll keep iterating as the night goes on. So unfortunately Brian and I won't be playing any games, but we'll be able to iterate on the game, and in itself is kind of a game itself, so we would have a good time. But yeah, that would be it in terms of our future works. We did outline this after the showcase. We saw after seeing the benefit of a live audience. So this is kind of where we want to pick up where we left off on NeonStrikers, and so have something that we can, like Brian wanted initially, something that we can look back on, put on our resume, talk about with future employers, or something that future people might be intrigued about. Hey, have you done any game development? It's like, check out NeonStrikers, our GitHub repository. We're actually working on a little game. Eventually, like in our future works, we do want to have the game available to play off your phone, maybe something you stream to a TV or a laptop, and the controls be on your phone. That would be a lot more comfortable. You would be able to emulate the joystick movement as traditional arcade games, and then as well as WASD, or in this case we would have just one button for jump. But yeah, we do have some future works planned out, which is exciting as we continue this. And the game was developed pretty much remotely the entire time. I only met Brian and Fabian the night or the day of the showcase, but it is speaking to the power where we see in the future, where we might be employed either with a hybrid schedule or with a fully remote schedule. It can be pretty productive in the right environment settings, with the right team, of course. But that is it for me. Thank you for watching this video. Have a great one.